Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this tutorial series, we are designing this fitness homepage using Next.js. Now in the previous video, we designed this hero section and this is how it looks. We also added some animation to this. Now in this video, we will design the next section, which is our program section over here. So it also has some animation. So if we reload this page and if I scroll down, we can see that this is how it looks. So we're going to design this in this video. Let's get started. Alright, so here I have opened up my VS Code, and the first thing we will do is we'll create a new component. So in the components folder, let's create a new file called programs.tsx, and for now let's go ahead and type export default function programs, and for now I'll just return a div, and let's type programs over here. Let's go back to our main page.tsx file, and let's add the programs component over here. So let's tap programs, and let's import it from components programs. So now if we go back to our website, here we can see programs is being displayed over here. Now the first thing we will do is just like we added the data of these nav items inside this constants file, let's add the data of the programs as well into this constants.ts file. So we can just create a constant called programs, and we'll set it equal to an array of objects, and in this we need to have different objects for each of the programs. So here let's type title, and for the first one we have this title of strength training. So let's type that over here, and then we need to have the description. So let's copy and paste this description from here. And in the same way, we also need to have the image. Now for the image, I have already downloaded some images over here, and I have these images right here in the public folder. So here let's type image, and let's add the URL of the image. So for the first one, let's type strength.jpg. Now in the same way, we need to add the content of all these programs over here. So I'll just quickly do that, and then we'll continue with our code. Alright, so here I have added all these details of the programs. Now let's go back to the programs.tsx file. And the first thing we will do is we'll change this div into a section. And here let's add a div, and let's add some classes over here. So let's type max width of 7XL, MX auto to bring it to the center, PX4 for the padding, and for larger screens let's type PX6 for padding left and right, and for even larger screens let's type PX8. And in this we need to add the heading and this paragraph. And in this div, let's create another div for the heading and the paragraph. So let's create an h2, and let's type our programs. Let's create a paragraph, and let's copy and paste the text from here. And now if we go back to our website, this is how it looks. We have the heading and the paragraph. Now we need to style this. First of all, let's go back to our section, and here let's add some classes. So let's type class name, padding top and bottom of 20, and bg background. So now we can see we have this padding, and now let's style this div, and here let's type class name, let's type text center and margin bottom of 16. So now we can see our text is centered. Now let's style the h2. So here let's type class name, let's type text 4XL for larger text, and for medium or larger screens let's type text 5XL, and let's type font black for the font weight. Let's type font heading for the Oswald font, margin bottom of 4, and text foreground. So this is basically a color. Now if we go back to our website, we can see that our heading is styled correctly. Now the next thing we need to style is this paragraph. So here for the p tag, let's type class name, let's type text XL, text muted foreground for the text color, max W to XL, which is the max width, and MX auto to bring it to the center. So this is how it looks. Or now we also need to add the animation for these headings and paragraphs. So for that, let's go ahead and change these into motion tags. So first of all, we need to import it. So let's type import asterisk as motion from motion-react client. And here for the h2, I'll just change this into motion.h2. And here let's add initial, and initially we'll set the opacity to 0 and y of 16. So it will come up from the bottom. Then let's go ahead and type animate, and here let's type opacity of 1 and y of 0. Let's also type transition, and let's set the duration to 0.6 and ease to ease out. And now if you go back and if I reload, we can see that we have this animation being displayed over here. But if you scroll up and if I reload this page, and now if you scroll down after some time, we can see that the animation is not playing. So when we reload the page, the animation runs. So when we scroll down, we cannot see the animation again. So for that, we will use while in view instead of animate. So here I'll just tap while in view. Now if you go ahead and reload this page, and now if you scroll down after some time, we can see that the animation still plays. So now let's add the animation for this paragraph. Before that, let's go ahead and change this setting where every time we scroll down, the animation happens. So let's run the animation only one time. So let's type viewport, and here we need to type once, true. And now if you scroll down, we have the animation, but if you scroll up and if you scroll down again, the animation doesn't happen. Right now, let's go ahead and copy these things from here and let's add it to this paragraph. So let's change this into motion.p and let's paste all the code over here. Let's make some changes. I'll just change the Y to 12 and let's add a little bit of delay. So let's type delay. Let's set the delay to 0.1. Now if you go back and if I reload, we can see that this is how the animation works. Right now, let's add all these cards for different programs. So let's go ahead and go outside this div. Let's create a comment. Let's tap cards and let's create a div. And for this div, let's add some classes. So let's tap grid and grid calls 1 for smaller screens. And for medium or larger screens, let's tap grid calls of 2. And for even larger screens, let's tap grid calls of 4. And let's add a gap of 8 between each of the elements. And now we need to loop through all the programs. So here we can see that we have created this const called programs and we are exporting it. So let's type curly braces programs and let's import it from lib constants. And we need to map through all the items. So let's tap map. And for each individual item, I'll just call it program. And let's also access the index. So let's go ahead and create an arrow function and I'll just return a div. So I'll just add parentheses and let's create a div. Let's actually change this into a motion.dev so that we can add animations. And in here, we need to add the card. And for the card, we will use the card element from ShadCN. So let's open the terminal and here let's go ahead and type npx ShadCN at latest add and we can just type card. And with that, the card component has been added to our project. So now we can simply go ahead and type card over here and let's import it from UI card. And the first thing we need to have in the card is the image. So let's create a div and in that let's add the image tag. So let's import image from next image and let's set the source to the image that we have inside this constant. So we have image over here. So we can just type program.image and then we need to add the width and the height. So I'll just type fill for the width and the height. And let's also add class name. Let's type object cover. And if you go back here, we can see we also have this hover effect. So when you hover over this, we can see that the scale of the image changes. So for that, let's go ahead and type transition, transform, duration of 500. Let's type group hover, scale of 110. Now, since we are using group hover over here, we can just go over here to the motion.dev, which is the parent division. And we can just type class name, group. Let's also add cursor of pointer over here. Now for this div, let's go ahead and add some classes. So let's type class name, relative, overflow of hidden, and rounded T, LG, which will have rounded corners at the top. Let's set the width to full. Let's set the height to 60. And for medium or larger, let's type height of 56. And for larger screens, let's set the height to 40. And for the image, let's also add the alt. So for the alt, I'll just type program.title. So now if we go back to our website, we can see that we have all these images being displayed over here. Now I think the ShadCN card already has some padding added by default. So let's go back and here for the card, let's add some classes. So let's type class name. Let's type padding of 0. And now we can see that we don't have the padding. So here let's also add transition for the shadow and let's set the duration to 300. And when you hover over this, we need to add a shadow. So let's type shadow to XL. And now we can see when we hover over this, we can see that the shadow is being displayed. Now the next thing we need to do is add the card content. So for that we have card content inside ShadCN. So let's use that. So let's type card content, and this card content, let's go ahead and add an S3, and here we'll just type program title, and after that we need to have a paragraph, and here we need to type program description. So now if you go back, we can see that all the content is displayed over here. Let's style this. Let's go back, and here for the S3, let's type class name, text Excel, font bold, font heading for the Oswald font, let's type margin bottom of 3, text color to foreground, and let's type group hover. So when you hover over the group, which is this division right here, we'll just go ahead and set the text color to primary, and let's type transition colors. And now if you go back and if I hover over this, we can see that the color changes. Let's also style the paragraph. So here let's type class name, text muted foreground, margin bottom of 4, and leading relaxed. Leading is basically the line height. So this is how it looks. Now let's also add the animation. So let's go back over here, and let's change the S3 into a motion S3. So let's type motion.s3, and let's type initial. Let's type opacity of 0, y of 0, and let's type while in view, and here let's type opacity of 1, y of 0, and let's type viewport, and let's display the animation just once. So let's type once true, and let's type transition, and here let's type duration of 0.5. Let's type ease, let's set it to ease out, and let's also type delay, and let's set the delay to index, which we are getting from here. So let's type index times 0.2. So in this way, each of the elements inside the programs will have different delay. So each of them will have increasing amount of delays. So let's go ahead and save this. Let's go back and reload. Now we can see that the animation is working all right. I think the Y is not working correctly. So here for the Y, we need to change this to a different value. Let's type 8. So now we can see everything works all right. Now here we have this error which says that we need to have a unique key for the map. So let's go back, and here for the map, for the div, let's type key, and let's set the key to program.title. So this is a unique value. Let's also add the animation for the paragraph. So I'll just copy all of these from here. Let's paste it over here. First of all, let's change this into motion.p, and let's paste it over here. Let's change the value to y of 6, and let's change the delay to 0.3. Let's see how it looks. Let's reload the page, and I think that looks all right. And then we also need to have this button. So for that, let's go back over here. Let's go below this paragraph, and let's create a div. Let's create a button in here. Let's import the button from UI button. So this is a ShadCN button, and let's type learn more, and here let's type variant. Let's set the variant to outline, and here we can see we have the button. Let's also add some classes. So let's type class name. Let's set the width to full, transition colors, duration of 300, and group hover. Let's type BG, and let's set it to primary. So this is the background color. So when you hover over the card, we need to change the color to the primary color. And let's also type group hover. Let's set the text color to primary foreground. Now let's go back to our website, and this is how it looks. Now we also need to add some padding at the bottom. So let's go to the card content, and here let's type class name. Let's type padding of 6. And now we can see we have the padding at the bottom. Now we don't want to have the padding at the top, so let's type padding top PT. Let's set it to 0. So this is how it looks. Now let's go back to our main container division, which is this division right here. Let's add some animations over here. So let's type initial. Let's set it to opacity 0, y of 24. Let's type while in view, and here let's type opacity of 1, y of 0, and let's type viewport. Let's type once true, and then let's type transition, and here let's type duration of 0.6, ease of ease out, and let's set the delay to index times 0.1. And now if we go back to our website, and if I reload, we can see that this is how the animation works. I think we can increase the delay a little bit. So let's tap 0.2. Let's reload. So this is how it looks. Now when we hover over each of these cards, let's also increase the scale of the entire card. So here we can just type while hover and let's type scale 1.02. Let's see how it looks. So we can see that the scaling is working correctly. Let's reload this page and let's scroll down. And we can see now everything works alright. So with that, we have styled our program section. So that's basically it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.